It's crazy times out there, right? Shelves are empty, the bars are empty, and we're all at home watching the whole world collapse all around us. All because of some stupid little coronavirus. Well, not exactly. See, the coronavirus is doing a lot of damage on its own. It's making people sick. It's killing people. The bigger problem is that it's exposed the underlying fragility of so many of our systems, a fragility that's been hidden but has always been present. And the systems have been becoming increasingly fragile because of a problem called the tragedy of the commons. Now, if you're not familiar with the tragedy of the commons and you're not sure how it applies to today, then please give me a little bit of your time. I'd like to try to explain to you why it's the tragedy of the commons, not this little virus that is causing the majority of our problems right now. So in the classical version of the tragedy of the commons, the common resource is a field, a grazing field for farmers to graze and feed their animals. So on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, Ezekiel and Abe go out to feed their livestock. And on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, Jebediah, Philip, and Ralph go out and feed their livestock. And on Sundays, nobody goes out to the field because they're all insured. The system works well for everyone, and because it's a small, close-knit community, they can practice a form of self-policing. So let's say Philip shows up to the field on a Tuesday one day, and of course, Ezekiel and Abe are all like, "What are you doing here on a Tuesday, boy? You know this isn't your day to come graze your animals." Of course, Philip lies. "I had to tend to my ma last night, and I didn't get a chance to bring my animals out here, so I'm just bringing them out today. It's just a one-day thing, boys." So Ezekiel and Abe allow him to stay because they have no reason to suspect that he's lying at the moment. However, Ezekiel's out at the pub having a drink with Ralph, and he can actually check Philip's story. "So I heard that Philip wasn't in the fields with y'all yesterday." What now?" "Yeah, Philip said he was tending to his ma, wasn't on the fields with you yesterday. He came out to the fields with us." Say what? Don't know nothing about that." "Are you telling me that Philip was in the field with you yesterday?" "Oh, I'm sure he was out there." "Oh, is that so?" "Howdy, fellas." "Hey, Philip. How's your ma?" She's fine. She's, complaining about everything, but she'll live another day." Good to hear. So you'll be returning to your normal routine then." "'Cause you're out there today with us and you weren't out there yesterday. Right?" I told him. "Philip, I don't appreciate being lied to." "I'm sorry, Zeke. You're a liar. You no good son of a bitch. You looked me right in my eyes and you lied to me." "All right, Zeke. Time for us to go. Philip, you no good bastard. Don't do that shit again, okay?" "Oh, all right, but I swear to God, Philip, if I catch you doing this again, I'll string you up myself." "Well, I didn't realize what a ruckus that would cause. Barkeep, I need a drink. Put it on my tab, please." "See, a tab is a form of trust, and based on what I just heard and saw, you're gonna have to earn that trust back, son. So cash only from here on out." "All right, here you go then. I suppose I'm just too young to understand the full consequences of my behavior." So Philip stayed and had a pint while the bartender politely explained to him that, well, it's tempting to cheat and take more than your fair share of resources. If people start doing this on a regular basis, the resources will be depleted completely. And then nobody will have a field to go to and feed their livestock, and as a result, nobody will have any livestock. This is the cost of living in a society. Now, Philip's single act of cheating isn't going to crash the whole system. The system isn't that fragile. In order for it to work year in, year out, it has to account for natural fluctuations in production. So due to weather and wild animals and such, some years there's slightly more production, and some years there's less production. And that's why Philip's single act of cheating won't crash the system, because the system is inherently flexible to account for the natural fluctuations. It means that it is usually running at a surplus. So there's a tolerable level of cheating. In fact, unbeknownst to poor Philip here, There's a natural amount of cheating that occurs all the time. The older farmers have come to realize that the system usually operates with a surplus, so they understand that usually they can get away with a little bit of cheating, and they do. For example, on Sundays, while everyone else is at church, Ralph takes his horse out to get in an extra day of grazing. And Ezekiel and Abe got a kind of I won't tell if you don't tell deal worked out, where they will often stay past dusk and allow their animals to get in a little extra grazing. These instances of cheating don't crash the system either. They're a tolerable amount of cheating, and even more so tolerable than the natural fluctuations, because the farmers can make a conscious decision to change their behavior in bad times. So in years where there's less production, Ralph doesn't go out on Sunday mornings, and Ezekiel and Abe don't stay out past dusk. But when there's a black swan event that drastically decreases the amount of resources, it changes everything. Everyone gets together and agrees that in order to weather these rough times, they're all going to have to reduce the amount of grazing they're doing. So they all agree that for the time being, nobody's going to go out more than 2 times a week rather than a regular 3 times a week. And they understand this is going to be a hit for everybody. Everybody's going to take a little bit of a hit, but they'll survive. They'll be fine. But after everyone goes home, Jebediah is left here and he starts to think about the situation. Now, he's not a bad man, selfish man, but he's got a family to think about, So he starts to think about what he should do in light of what's going on and what's best for him and what's best for his family. If everyone else reduces their consumption and makes the socially responsible choice, then the field will be fine, and my personal behavior won't really have an effect on that. So that means that if I keep going out there 3 days a week, as long as everyone else is cooperative, the system still won't crash, and I won't actually personally have to take that hit, which is really just looking out for my family. If everyone else cheats and goes out and continues to consume at their regular rates, then the system is going to collapse regardless of what I do. Either way, it's out of my control. So it also makes sense for me to go out and get that extra 3rd day of feeding in, because by making a sacrifice and not doing it, I'm not going to save the system personally anyways, so I might as well go out and get it while getting is good. So while at a group level, the collective behavior, or the best collective approach to it, is obvious. Everyone just needs to reduce grazing from 3 days to 2 days, and they will weather the storm no problem. So it seems like this isn't even really a problem, because the collective behavior is so obvious what needs to be done. But the problem is, at an individual level, it's in Jebediah's best personal interest to act selfishly, regardless of how everyone else acts. So now he has to make a decision between doing what is personally beneficial and what is socially responsible. And that decision is going to come down to 2 personal factors. One, how much personal responsibility he feels to act socially responsible, and 2, how much he trusts his other community members to also act socially responsible. So really, the problem of the Tragedy Commons is a test of a community's individualism versus socialism. While the system appeared to be cooperative when everything was operating smoothly, the abundance of goods actually masked the fragility of the system and masked the individualistic nature of the people in that system. It was able to function and appear as if it was cooperative only because the abundance of goods allowed everybody to act in their own self-interest and not have to make any real personal sacrifices. So since Jebediah has always been living in a world where doing what's in his personal best interest is also what's in best interest of the society, and because he's never had to make personal sacrifices, and because looking out for your family is considered the epitome of moral behavior in this environment, for all those reasons, Jebediah is extremely individualist himself. And on top of that, he knows that the other people in his community are also extremely individualistic. So he has very little trust that they're going to behave appropriately, because he understands that they're going through the same logical mechanics as he is. So Jebediah makes the decision to act selfishly. Of course, he doesn't think of it that way. He thinks of it as doing what's best for his family. But he goes out and grazes 3 days a week and doesn't modify his behavior. Of course, Ezekiel uses the exact same logic, and so he also goes out and feeds 3 days a week, doesn't change his behavior. Same logic applies to Ralph, so he doesn't change his behavior either. Neither does Abe, and neither does Philip, until the resources are desperately low and we're in a full-blown crisis, which only further encourages people to act selfishly, now that a full-blown loss of resources is a very likely reality. And that's when people start to get crazy. So Philip goes out to feed his horse, and here comes Jebediah to feed his horse. Aha! I knew you were out here cheating. What the hell are you talking about? You're out here too. Yeah, I came out here because I knew you were cheating. So I'm out here checking on you. Oh, you needed to bring your animals out too to check on me, huh? Well, anyway, you can go home. I'm staying here to feed my animals. I ain't leaving neither. What the hell? You shot my horse! Well, now you don't have to worry about feeding him, do you? Look, your horse was gonna die anyway, man. Why should all of our horses die? Oh, yeah? Well, I guess I'll be taking your horse then. So that got a little out of control. This is the tragedy of the commons. Once the resources are completely and irreversibly used up, everybody dies. The system is not sustainable long term. So basically, all of human civilization and governments and law enforcement are all put in place to stop the tragedy of commons from happening and stop this from happening.